Thank you for clicking on this video. If you're into true scary stories, then press the subscribe button for more. And I apologize if my voice is a little raspy today, as I just got back from Universal with my boys and we were getting a little crazy on those rides. Anyways, without further ado, let's get right into the video. So in case anyone has heard or experienced something similar, this happened around 2005 to 2009 in San Diego, California. I don't quite remember my age at the time, but I was probably around 9 to 12 years old. It was a boring night, so my mom, little sister, and I decided to go to Walmart just to get out of the house. This particular Walmart shares the same parking lot as a Kohl's or Target. As we were walking around in our PJs in the store, a lady approached us and complimented my sister and I for being quote-unquote cute and pretty. She proceeded to say that she works for a TV network and her job is to scout/cast families for their reality TV show. She asked if our dad in the store was with us, and even though we didn't have a dad, I lied and said he's home for my mom, who happens to not speak any English. I didn't want to say he was in the store in case she would ask to speak to him, and the lady looked quite normal, friendly, and kind of bubbly, and continued to compliment my family for being so beautiful. As she was talking, I translated it to my mom, and we all felt flattered but skeptical by her compliments. Then she said she would love to cast us if we would follow her to her house so she can properly film everything to submit to the company. This was the moment I started averting my eyes to check the shelves for hidden cameras. During this time, family reality and prank shows were really popular, so it made the whole situation feel a bit more plausible that we were either really being scouted or this was a hidden camera prank. I was leaning towards it being a prank because we were 1, boring people, and 2, weren't particularly so pretty and beautiful as she claimed. Even though I was young and so I didn't feel an immediate danger talking to her in the middle of Walmart with my mom present, I knew it was ridiculous to follow a stranger to their house, especially late at night. I then politely declined her offer, which she asked a few more times before telling us if we change our mind, we can find her in the store. When she left, we checked up and down the aisles for camera crews or hidden cameras because of her whole reality show pitch to a first-generation Asian immigrant family. The whole thing just seemed completely unbelievable, and the only thing we could think of to explain it was that it was just a prank. I also noted to my mom how it was odd that we didn't even notice her following us earlier when we walked every aisle and she just came out of nowhere. As a kid who watched a lot of true crime and forensic shows like Forensic Files and CSI, I told my mom she could have been trying to lure us into a trap. When we followed her home, there could be more men there, and what if they kill us or traffic us? We were probably easy targets since we were only 3 women, 2 being kids, and immigrants as well. My mom also thought it was weird, but instead of going straight to our car, we waited for some time to pass in case the lady/her people would follow us to our car and to our house. To this day, sometimes this encounter would creep its way out of my memory bank and make me wonder, what if we followed her that day? What did she have planned for us? Was she one of those bad women you hear working for others in order to lure other women and children? Has she done this before, and was she successful with other people? I hope no one was harmed from her scheme. And let's not meet again, lady. A random woman had my family's name in her suicide note. Around a decade ago, when I was like 12 or something, my mom had just passed away due to the wrong medication for her illness. So it was only me, my father, and my sister living in a small apartment in the outskirts of Mumbai. We were still very much in shock, grief, sadness, and far from recovering from her sudden loss. Across the street in a different building, at the ground floor level, a woman used to live alone. This is India, and her family had left her due to her being a paranoid schizophrenic, as well as having some other mental illnesses. The other people living in the building had complained to the local authorities that she might harm the people around herself, but not much action was taken. One evening, when she was outside her apartment, The children living in the building were playing in the ground. The woman had one of her paranoid episodes and smashed one of the kids' heads on a wall. The kid started bleeding from his head and the other kid started shouting and ran away. All the people living in the building came rushing to the ground. The parents of the kids started beating on the woman. Then the police showed up, as well as the family of the woman. The parents of the kid wanted the police to arrest the woman, but the police honestly thought the case was pretty tiring and tried to convince the family not to pursue charges because it wasn't a serious injury. This incident became rapidly popular in the neighborhood. Hell, I literally saw it all happening through my window, as it was just across the street. After a few days, when she was already gone, I was walking down the stairs as I lived on the 3rd floor, and I wanted to go get some stuff from the store. It was around 8 p.m., and the neighborhood was alive at this time. There were people in the streets talking to each other, and just minding their own business, or there for work, etc. As I was walking down the stairs, I came down from the 3rd floor to the landing between the 2nd and 3rd floor. As I turned to the second set of stairs, which takes us to the 2nd floor, I had this strong sensation that someone is standing behind me. But the landing between the 2 floors was so small. How would it be possible for me to not see someone there when I had just crossed the landing? I just fearfully turned around to check, and I saw her standing right fucking behind me, staring into my soul. I completely froze for a second or two, and in that time she came close to me and whispered, "Son." That's it. I came to my senses and ran right down the stairs, because running back up to my house would only mean I'd have to cross her again, and that was not an option. I reached the ground floor in a matter of seconds, and screamed to my window at my sister Dee Dee above, "Lock the damn door! Just lock it!" As our apartment door was open and my father used to come back from work late at night around 12. People at the ground saw me scream and how I was shaking in fear and came to me to ask what had happened. I told them that I saw that crazy woman and that she is on the 3rd floor. They were all shocked and went to check, but no one was found. They checked the entire building, but they just couldn't find her. Mind you, the building was only 3 floors tall, excluding the ground floor, so above the 3rd floor there was a terrace. I was still pretty terrified, so 2 men had taken me back to my home. After around 3 to 4 hours, during the time our father used to get back home, both me and my sister heard something that sounded like footsteps coming from the terrace. We both were very terrified and couldn't understand if it was actually footsteps or something else. With what had just happened just hours earlier, my mind was in a different dimension. At 12, the bell rang and it was my dad. I was so scared to open the door, even after knowing it's my dad, and my hands were literally shaking. I told him everything that happened and started crying. He laughed it off as just a delusion and consoled me. We also told him about the footsteps we were hearing, but he couldn't hear it. He simply told us to go get some sleep, and so we did. After a few hours, I woke from loud crowd noises. I couldn't understand what was happening. I rubbed my eyes as I was still sleepy and slowly started to see. The room was still dark as the lights were off. But what the fuck is going on? Sorry guys, like I said, I went to Universal. Anyways, the room was still dark and as the lights were off, but I could see the light near the door and loud crowd noises coming from there and my window. I came to my senses completely and realized our door was literally wide open after midnight, and my sister is still waking up at the same time I did due to the loud noises, but my father wasn't there. I ran to the door and saw all the people of the building, my neighbors, gathered along with my father. He saw me and told me to go back to sleep. I declined and forced him to tell me what was going on. He told me that a crazy woman from the other building is on our terrace and standing right at the edge. All the people were telling her from the ground to back away from the edge. The strange thing was that the terrace lock was completely fine, as if she had keys to open it. But there was no way she would have keys. People were trying to break the door as she had locked it from the inside. I went in my room as I got tired of all the shit that had happened, and I wasn't even scared at this point. I simply went back and got right to our window, and I was looking down to all the people who were looking up at the terrace, screaming at her to stop. This is when I saw the most horrific incident of my life, which I would have never forgot. It all happened in a span of seconds. I saw her coming from above and going right down to the ground, hitting it, and I could still hear the bang that I heard, the blood that splashed. I was only 12. My father came rushing into the room, and he saw me froze looking down at her body, took me off the window and closed it, and simply told me to close my eyes and go back to sleep. I did just that. But I didn't sleep. Nobody slept. It was a long night, and the police arrived, and all the procedures happened. Everyone was outside, and all of them knew that I was the one who had seen her earlier in the evening, and they all collectively decided not to tell the police. They knew of our family's condition and the condition of the judiciary system in India. People were going in and out of their apartments in the building. Everybody's doors were open. My dad was on that terrace talking to some people as they had been able to break the door, but sadly too late. I went up there to call him. There were police on the terrace too. As I was approaching him, my eyes caught upon a piece of paper floating around on the ground due to the cool winds. I wouldn't have picked it up if I hadn't caught a glimpse of what was on it. My name, written in red marker. To say I was shocked would be an understatement. The paper had written the names of my father, me, my sister, and Tegradel, the medicine which had side effects on my mother. That's it. The handwriting seemed familiar. It looked like my mom's. I checked it with my mom's earlier writings, and it felt eerily similar. I had that paper ever since, up until 2022 when we shifted our home. I've lost the paper since then. I normally go walking in the woods with a friend, and today nobody was available, so I went by myself. I parked the car and went into the entrance. There was one other car and a jogger that passed me on my way in. I decided to go off the main track since there's a smaller track around 10 to 20 meters down that you can follow instead. It's a wooded area, but can get back to the main track in 5 minutes if I really wanted to. I was debating if I should continue on the smaller track straight following the main track or go down to the more wooded area where there's a pathway. So I'm standing there, and I see a man in the distance in the main track walking towards the main entrance. He notices me and abruptly stops walking. He's staring at me now with a huge grin for around 20 seconds. He looks to be in his late 50s or 60s with an extremely creepy face. My guts drop, and I'm thinking if I walk back onto the main track, he'll be there if he decides to stop staring and continues walking down the main track. We will meet at a similar time and nobody else is here. I'm thinking he will continue walking on and I will wait until he just leaves or goes on, because I'm feeling super unsafe. I'm regretting coming here by myself in the first place. He ends up walking down the hill at a diagonal, while I see he's staring straight at me. I'm now freaking out, but I think maybe he's going down the other pathway. I walk up to the main track and I notice he's doing a C shape, going down to where I was standing, and now he's coming up to the main track again and he's behind me. He's not running, but his eyes are fixated on me and he's smirking since he spotted me. I'm completely freaked out and I get to the main track, which is covered by trees on each side. He's clearly following me, right? Why else would you go down and up like that exactly where I'm walking? He's around 6 meters from me and I'm getting ready to run up to the entrance, which would take around 5 minutes. A couple came in and I'm extremely relieved, but they are walking so fast. He ends up staying in the woods. He continues doing a predatory stare at me for around 10 minutes. When I got to my car, I drove slowly to be able to identify him properly. And he doesn't come out until I'm all the way down the road. I'm now wondering if I should have stayed parked and got a picture of him, or recorded him on video and said you were following me, or told the couple I was being followed. I drove away super shaken up. I can't even describe the feeling. All I remember is his really creepy smirking face and gray hair, and thinking I'm lucky if I get out of here. I'm so angry that I can't go for a short walk on a hiking trail without being in danger. So to that old creepy man, let's not meet.